This isn't great. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Skate Season 1. In the last video I made about this game, I kind of just went over all of my thoughts about the state of the game, and that was actually when it was still during the playtest. I did get, quite honestly, an overwhelming amount of pretty hateful and nasty comments on that video, and I knew that was going to happen. And to be honest, I'm not too bothered by it, but I will say I wanted to start this video by sort of clearing a couple things up and just addressing a couple of those things. I in no way will ever try and attempt to change your opinion about a video game. Like that is just loser behavior. I think it's very important as players to share your opinion, whatever it may be. As long as you're being respectful in sharing your opinion, you're not attacking others or harming others or being disrespectful to anybody. You are just as entitled to a negative opinion as you are to a positive one. We might disagree, but that does not warrant death threats and slurs and name calling over a video game, bro. Like, that is just outrageous. So that's all I'll say on that. You know, just be kind. It's a video game. If you enjoy the video game, that's great. Honestly, like, I'm happy for you. I really am. I don't mean that sarcastically, like, genuinely. I'm unfortunately not able to find much enjoyment in this game. And before you ask, like, well, why are you still playing it? I don't know. I almost feel obligated to play it just because it is the new skate game.
Burn it itching, burn it itching.
That dude just literally picked his ass. You did, though. You did. Let's go ahead and get into my overall thoughts and opinions on the game now that it has been pretty much fully released. I mean, it's technically still in early access, but let's be real. That's just EA's way of saying we're not done polishing this turd, so quit whining about it. I'm gonna do my best to try and only speak for myself. So to start with the positives, the things that I like about this game, and there aren't many, but I just did this, dude. I just did this. I've done this like 5 times. The physics of this game feel super solid, like probably the best skateboarding has ever felt in a video game for me personally. It really is the only thing that makes the game worth playing. This is really hard to do while trying to form coherent sentences, I'm gonna be honest. Overall, I will admit the skating does feel really good. There's a pretty good amount of customization as far as settings goes, which I think allows for a lot of variation in playstyle. I also really like the addition of things like slappies, wallies, firecrackers, low and high pops, slow flips, quick ollies. It definitely makes the game feel new and fresh. Overall, very fluid and intuitive. I feel like very connected to my board in a way. Moving on to the map. There are a lot of really cool spots. Even after having like 4 days of playtime in this game, I'm still finding lots of cool spots. And unfortunately, the last positive thing I have to say about this game, and really the only positive takeaway that there is from it being a live service game, is that it's more accessible. Moving on to what is unfortunately going to make up the majority of this video, the negatives. Now, I want to preface this by saying there are things that I am going to address that are confirmed to be changed or updated in coming updates, sort of to the same tune of what I was saying earlier. I find it frustrating that the negative parts of this game are always excused by reciting the same bullshit over and over. I swear, dude, some of you guys, EA could literally take a crap on a paper plate and you'd be like, well, it's free. Can't you just be appreciative? Look, I mean, come on, man, don't ruin it for the rest of us, all right? Just take a bite, just one bite, all right? It's good, I swear. So starting with the gameplay, to be honest, it does feel very floaty. Fortunately, not as much as games like Skater XL or Session, especially not Skater XL, bro. That is, you might as well be skating on the moon in that game. I'm also not a huge fan of some of the bespoke animations. I mentioned this in my last video, but a lot of them just got me looking like Woody from Toy Story, man. Despite lots of settings customization options, I find it hard to find settings that work consistently across different styles of skating. Constantly having to mess around with my settings when I'm like changing spots or activities or whatever is just really annoying. There is also still an insane amount of bugs and glitches, even for an early access game. And even now that there's been the supposedly big season 1 update, there's still an insane amount of glitches. And on top of that, like, yeah, a few of them have been patched, but season 1 also brought a ton of new glitches as well. Majority of people are constantly having to wait in massive logging queues to be able to play the game, and that's like still happening after several days of season 1 being out. Connectivity issues and just a ton of other, like, most of the time very discouraging glitches are still in the game. When the game first launched in early access about a month ago, the first day I was put into a queue of 1 million people. The servers just completely shit the bed. What am I? It was an absolute mess. Majority of people either weren't able to play or they were able to play for a little bit and they got kicked out. The game's been in development for 5 years. Moving on to the gameplay loop and progression. Now, this is probably the biggest criticism I have for this game and what upsets me and puts me off from this game the most. There's no single player, which I think is just completely outrageous, to be honest. You can't play the game offline at all. You can't even play in a private lobby like by yourself or with friends. Single player was the foundation of all of the previous skate games, and to be quite honest, without it, it kind of just feels like a husk of a game. And oddly, being that it is a multiplayer focused game, an online only game, there aren't really many reasons to play in a multiplayer setting. There aren't the typical multiplayer modes like team deathmatch or skate or 1-up or any of those. All there is are throwdowns, which are very poorly made. Nobody ever wants to do them. I hardly ever see anybody ever doing them. And then the rest of the challenges in the game get stale very fast. They're extremely repetitive. So many of the challenges in this game I've done, I'm not even kidding, probably like 10 to 20 times. Now they're on like a cycle, so they're supposed to reset. Even when they do reset, most of the time they reset with either the same exact challenge or almost the exact same challenge with like a very slight variation in like one of the tricks or two of the tricks. It just makes no sense to me why they would lean so heavily into the massively online multiplayer only structure of this game, and then really the only thing that you can do in this game, like progression wise, are these repeating challenges, and then just like completely neglected multiplayer modes. It makes absolutely no sense to me. It just seems so ass backwards. I don't get it. The reward and unlock system is just awful. I can't stand it. I shouldn't have to play for hours and hours just to unlock a blank solid colored deck. Like, come on now. What are we doing? What's the point of that? I don't get it. I understand monetizing like branded clothing items and things like that, but like not being able to simply just like change the color of your board or the color of like a plain pair of pants or a plain shirt, like that is just what? It is such a step backwards, dude. I don't even understand what even like the like business perspective of that would be. And then there's the map. While there is a ton of really cool spots that are fun to skate, overall the map feels very samey. There's not much variety. Apart from all these skyscrapers, there's like no verticality at all. The map is extremely flat. There's next to no variation from district to district. In previous games, especially in Skate 3, I personally think they did a fantastic job of making each district distinct and unique from one another, but in this game, to me, it just feels like one giant district. Dude, I'm skating so poorly right now. This is hard to do while I'm like talking, bro. I'm not good at multitasking. You guys know this. But even after the amount of time that I've played, if it weren't for that compass at the top there telling me what neighborhood I'm in, most of the time I probably wouldn't be able to tell where I'm at. And that would have never happened in any of the previous skate games, especially Skate 3. Not to mention the fact that it kind of just looks like one giant tech deck park. There is not a single speck of dirt anywhere to be found. All right, now on to arguably the most controversial and debated aspect of this game, and that is the identity and aesthetic. Now, I do want to start off by saying I do appreciate the somewhat obvious attempt that the developers have made to make an inclusive game, but it's clear that there was a very, very heavy corporate influence that I feel like most likely kept this game from being something far greater. It feels very forced. Like, I'll be honest, it feels very forced. But let's start with the evil villain of Skate 4, V. This chick is constantly in your ear, constantly infantilizing you, talking to you like you just pooped your diaper, always acting like you've never heard of a skateboard in your life. You literally get introduced to your skateboard. I turned her ass off so fast she left skid marks, bro. V. All my homies hate V. I could honestly go on and on about all of the things that contribute to my distaste for the identity and aesthetic of this game. There's no pros, which means that there's not a super sick pro intro cutscene. It's just very non-immersive. The only characters you do have in the game are like fucking flat Stanleyed onto your screen with some dialogue. Previous skate games forced you to think like a skateboarder in a world that not only wasn't made for you, but also very aggressively looked down upon it. Not use your skater eyes, not have your freaking Android babysitter hold your hand through baby's first ollie over an ant. That was like the... Now, granted, Skate 3 was set in a world that was basically made for skateboarding, but in my opinion, it was tasteful. Like, the whole theory that you died at the beginning of the game and are now in skate heaven, that's awesome. And I feel like it explains the game perfectly, to be honest. The whole appeal of previous games was that it wasn't trying to satisfy everyone. It presented itself as a game that was made by skateboarders for skateboarders, and the aesthetic and overall gameplay experience reflected that, thus enticing people who perhaps weren't previously into skateboarding to immerse themselves in something that felt foreign and novelty. To me, it served as like a window into the world of skateboarding. This game just has an overall lack of creativity and uniqueness, and instead it's just a very obvious attempt at being out there and quirky, but ended up looking like if a Disney show from 2013 made a video game. Like, this is what the skaters are into, right? They'll like this. You know, slap some graffiti on some stuff and they'll just eat right out of your hand. In previous games, when you'd bail, your character would get like all beat up and dirty, but in this game, I could literally exit and re-enter the atmosphere without even so much as breaking a fingernail. Also, why do I... Oh my god. Oh my god. I've got like jaundice right now. What the f? Now on to probably the second most, or I guess arguably in some cases the most controversial and negatively reported on aspect of this game, monetization. And I'm gonna try not to harp on this because it really is just such a worn out topic. It really does suck though that items are so insanely overpriced. Like $5 for a pair of wheels, bro. And like, yeah, you could say, well, just don't buy things, but majority of the things that are even worth wearing are paid. And I will say, I did not use my own money to buy the Founders Pack. I probably should have mentioned that at the beginning of the video because I'm sure to get a ton of comments being like, well, why'd you pay 50 bucks for that shirt then? I didn't, okay? A few of the viewers of my stream were kind enough to donate to cover the cost of it because they wanted to see Meat Man. And I can't blame them, all right? I wanted Meat Man. I wasn't going to shell out 50 bucks of my own money for Meat Man, but I'm a man of the people, all right? I had to do it. But no, I would not have spent my own money to purchase the Founders Edition pack. Let's move on to the live service aspect. So because this game is live service, that means that if it performs poorly and like can't sustain its service, it gets shut down. And don't try and tell me like, oh, that won't happen. EA wouldn't do that. And I think a direct result of it being a live service game is the fact that it released without a ton of features that just should have been included in the game by default. And we're basically being drip fed this content through seasons. So many of these things were in previous games, and it's not even like they're huge features or anything. And I do realize that this game was pretty much like completely built from the ground up. To my knowledge, it didn't use any of the like systems or assets of previous skate games, but even still, like if a game from over 15 years ago is able to deliver these features on launch without it being some kind of like notable feature, this is not the kind of thing that we should be hyping up in season content. This is the kind of thing that a developer does when they don't know what else to promote about their game. Like, why are we advertising that Dark Slides and Impossibles are going to be coming in a future season when they were in previous games? To be honest, it almost feels like borderline disrespectful to expect players to be stupid enough to like forget that these tricks were previously in the game. And it's funny because people be like, oh, you know, it's such a small thing. Like, why are you getting so hung up on that? That's the point. It's something so small that was already in the game previously. I can't think of any other reason to do that other than they just don't have enough content to be putting out. It's honestly insane to me that the season 1 update was even considered like a seasonal update. This could have been an in-season update. It was that small. Pretty much all that was added was like this fucking Macy's Day Parade and new lighting, which in other words was basically them just slapping the smallest tint of yellow onto the game. Like, don't get me wrong, it does look better, but I feel like we should have got so much more for, especially for like the first season too. Like, this is where they really had to pull out all the stops, really try and lock in those players that were sort of on the fence about whether or not the game was worth playing or not. And then this is what we got. So on the season 1 roadmap, it says that there's going to be 2 seasonal events. One of those is Skate-A-Ween, which I'll admit I'm kind of excited for. You guys know how much I love Halloween. And then there's also going to be the 7-ply harvest. I have no idea what that's supposed to be. There's also the skate pass as well. Yeah, I mean, there's like a few cool things in here, but like, what are we doing? Oh, there's also like, okay, what the dude, this looks like Sunset Overdrive. And you'd think that that would be a compliment because that game is awesome, but it's not. But yeah, like some of these are cool. This actually has like some Easter eggs on it. You can see at the bottom, it says Dark Slide Easter egg, Impossible in the middle there. Okay. Is that literally supposed to be bird shit? And of course, like most games nowadays, there is a free battle pass, or I guess skate pass, and then a premium pass. And that also means that there is now a third currency in this game, because that's exactly what everybody wanted for a game in early access. The things that are supposed to be coming in future seasons include supposedly new co-op game mode. It just says mode, so I don't... I would have hoped that that said modes, because right now, apart from throwdowns and doing challenges co-op, which there's not much of a reason to, there literally is nothing. It seems to me like what they're planning on doing is just continuing to drip feed these modes like they are with all the other content. But outside of that, there's also supposed to be 2 more seasonal events. The addition of party voice chat, which again, another thing that I feel like just should have been in the game already. Impossibles and improved hand plants, which I assume probably means, again, hand plants that we already had in Skate 3, because right now all we have is just regular hand plants. And apparently we already had Impossibles in one of the previous playtests, so I don't know why that was removed from the game. And then of course the replay editor improvement, which I really hope means keyframes. I wish that they would have clarified that a bit more, because if it's not keyframes, honestly, just like the nail in the coffin right there, more like the 5th nail. But season 1 is 2 months long. I'm gonna assume that season 2 is also 2 months long, so this means that for the rest of these features we have to wait likely until like at least February. And those features include leaderboards, player created parks, open world collection, more game modes, more character slots including tattoos, dark slides, and and expanded foot plants. So we have to wait until December to be able to add keyframes in replays, and we have to wait likely until February for dark slides, along with Creative Park and likely a ton of other features as well. So what I will say personally, and I know that this video was pretty overwhelmingly negative, I'm just being honest. I'm not going to censor my opinions about a video game so that I might not upset others. And it really does suck because I am enjoying myself somewhat with this game and it just has so much potential. But to see that EA is like already dropping the ball, it really sucks, bro. I really want to like this game. I want to be able to play this game for however long it's active, but I'm already getting tired of it. I was really hoping that season 1 would kind of revive my interest in the game. To be honest, it really has not. It sucks that we have to wait so long for the simplest of features, all because they made the decision to make the game live service and now are wanting to incentivize players to keep playing their game. But that's a slippery slope, man. There's a lot of players like me who just aren't really willing to sit around watching EA twiddle their thumbs. So yeah, that's about it. You're welcome to, of course, share your opinions on the game in the comments, whether it's similar to mine or completely different. All I ask is that you be respectful, because the moment you start name calling and degrading other people for their opinions, that's when you kind of just lose all credibility. I did also just want to take a moment here to include some of the responses that I got in the Discord server. So I basically just asked anyone who wanted to drop their honest thoughts or reviews or opinions to be included in this video. Liquid MC says, I think Skate just looks like it was model flipped from Sketchfab. He also says, I also feel that many people say Skate 4 is unrealistic, but I think Skate 3 is just as unrealistic as the new game. Greatest player of Flappy Tickets says, the gameplay is great, but it feels very corporate and not grungy at all. Every time I play the new game, it just makes me want to play Skate 3 because honestly, the whole feel of the world in a skate game is more important to me than its gameplay mechanics. I feel like Skate 3's engine is good enough. I really wanted to love this game, and I hated how cynical the community felt about the game. However, when I finally got a chance to play the game, I was left with a Coach Frank shaped hole in my heart. That is very well said. Greg here says, a bit overhated. I like the climbing thing, but Skate 4 in general is and was never going to be an amazing game. Plus, no Coach Frank, stupid, dumb, idiot clinker instead, 0 out of 10. So thank you to those who submitted those responses. I appreciate all you guys sharing your opinion. And I know that that's probably not like the best temperature gauge for overall community sentiment because it's a pretty small collection of data for one, but also it is more likely that the people in my server are going to share a similar opinion with me. I am open to continuing to make content on this game. So if there's anything specific you guys would like to see, definitely be sure to let me know. Anyways, that's going to be it for me. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, consider liking the video and subscribing. It truly means a lot and it really does go a long way. I've also recently been streaming quite a bit, so if you'd like to catch one of my live streams, subscribing is one of the ways you can do that. And if you'd like to support me further, you're also more than welcome to join as a channel member as well as join the Discord. The link to both will be down in the description and they both offer some pretty cool perks. Huge thank you to Game On and Champ for becoming members. You guys are awesome. Thank you very much for the continued support. With all that said, thank you so much for watching and I'll see you next time.